In November 1942, a soldier climbed onto a platform built for public executions and waited. He was not there to die. He was there to kill Stalin.
Moscow, November 6, 1942. The war has ground on for a year and a half, and hundreds of miles south, Soviet and German forces are locked in the fight for Stalingrad. But tomorrow is the 25th anniversary of the October Revolution, and the government intends to mark it here, in the heart of the city, Red Square. Loudspeakers are being tested along the Kremlin walls. Barricades and anti-aircraft positions, left over from the darkest months of the war, still sit at the edges of the city. Security is tight. NKVD officers patrol every gate. Soldiers line the Kremlin walls. Black government cars move in and out through the day. Nobody is taking chances, not with a war still undecided and the enemy still on Soviet soil. This is also not the first time someone has tried to reach Stalin with a weapon. Soviet security files, kept sealed for decades, already hold a handful of earlier, serious attempts on his life, each one quietly reinforcing his own well-documented caution. Fewer public walks, fewer predictable routes, more distance between himself and any crowd he didn't control. Whatever happens today, it happens inside a system already built around the assumption that someone, somewhere, is trying. At noon, a lance corporal named Savely Dmitriev reports for duty in his regiment's garage nearby. History remembers almost nothing about him before this day. No photograph, no clear account of what brought him here. He is one soldier among thousands in the capital. A name on a roster. Nothing more. By early afternoon, he is gone from his post. He has taken his rifle. And he is walking, alone, toward Red Square. He doesn't go toward the crowds near the Kremlin walls. He walks toward an old stone platform beside St. Basil's Cathedral, standing since the 16th century, since the reign of Ivan the Terrible. Muscovites know it by a darker name than the one on the maps, the execution place, the spot where, in darker centuries, sentences were carried out in public. Dmitriev climbs it. Then he wraps a length of wire around the iron gate at its base, sealing the only way up, from the inside. For an armed man alone on a raised platform in the most heavily guarded square in the Soviet Union, discovery should take minutes. It doesn't happen that way. A patrol notices him and asks what he's doing. He doesn't hesitate. Extra security, he says, posted ahead of tomorrow's parade. His voice doesn't shake. They move on. A second patrol passes, then a third. Each time, the story holds. Government cars pass beneath him for hours. Nothing happens. Dmitriev lets each one go. He isn't waiting for just any car. Hour after hour in the cold November air, he is waiting for one car in particular. At 2:55 in the afternoon, a motorcade turns off Vasilyevsky Spusk, the sloped road leading down from the square near St. Basil's, and starts toward the Kremlin. A lead car, followed close behind by a second vehicle carrying the security escort. Then, from nowhere, a horse-drawn hay cart crosses directly into its path. In a city where fuel is rationed for the war effort, horse-drawn carts are still common on Moscow's streets. Nothing about one on its own should raise an alarm. But this cart crosses at exactly the wrong moment. The horse startles. The lead car, carrying Anastas Mikoyan, one of the most senior officials in the Soviet government, swerves hard to avoid it. That swerve pulls the car closer to the execution place and slows it almost to a stop directly beneath the platform. Dmitriev raises his rifle. He fires 3 shots. The driver floors the engine and pulls away. NKVD escort officers pour out of the car behind it. Gunfire breaks out at the base of the platform. Nearby pedestrians scatter. Dmitriev holds his position until a grenade explodes near him. Stunned, he is overpowered and dragged down. Alive. Mikoyan is unhurt. No one in the car has been hit. Officers climb the platform, find the wire he used to seal the gate, and recover 3 spent cartridges. The handful of pedestrians close enough to have seen or heard the shots are quietly told, in no uncertain terms, that what they witnessed did not happen. Within the hour, the entire incident is sealed off. No newspaper reports it. No radio broadcast mentions it. As far as the Soviet public will ever know, nothing happened in Red Square that afternoon. Behind closed doors, the interrogation of Savely Dmitriev begins immediately. Soviet security interrogations of this era were rarely gentle, and confessions extracted under them have always been difficult for historians to take entirely at face value. But at some point during that questioning, Dmitriev makes an admission that changes everything. He wasn't aiming at Mikoyan. In the chaos of the swerving car, he believed he was firing at Stalin. He had the wrong target, by mistake. For the NKVD, that single detail turns a contained incident into something far more alarming. If one soldier could stand undetected on a platform in Red Square for hours and come within seconds of the Soviet leader's own motorcade, there's a hole somewhere in the Kremlin's defenses. And nobody yet knows how deep it goes. Investigators reconstruct the entire sequence on paper, a careful diagram of the square, the platform, and the exact path the cart and the motorcade crossed. Officers also fan out to question his relatives, his friends, and the men who served beside him at the front, looking for a contact, a grievance, a reason. Again and again, they find very little. Investigators weigh every possibility: a Nazi operation, a conspiracy from within, disillusioned officers, or the remnants of political factions crushed years earlier in the purges, or simply one man acting alone. The timing makes it worse. Only a few years earlier, the country had gone through a wave of purges that saw thousands executed on suspicion of plotting against the very man Dmitriev now claimed he'd tried to kill. The machinery built to find hidden conspiracies everywhere doesn't need much encouragement to start running toward this case. Every theory runs into the same questions. Was the hay cart pure chance, or was it timed? Was its driver ever even found? And how did Dmitriev stand in plain sight for hours without a single patrol treating him as a threat? A medical commission rules him sane, but elsewhere in his file, notes suggest something less certain: signs of hallucinations, behavior that doesn't square with a calm, calculated plan. Sane enough, officially, to have planned an assassination. Unstable enough that no one seems sure what was truly driving him. In the end, the investigation settles on one conclusion: a lone man acting alone. No handler. No network ever proven. But if that's the true answer, it's a strange one to sit on for 6 years, because that's exactly what happens next. Nothing for 6 years. The case stays classified. No trial. No explanation to anyone. The war ends in 1945. The country turns to rebuilding. The security service that once interrogated Dmitriev is reorganized, absorbed into new structures built for a new kind of war, this time a cold one. And still, his file sits closed in an archive, untouched. In 1950, 8 years after 3 rifle shots were fired across Red Square, a court finally, quietly, hears the case of Savely Dmitriev. He is found guilty. He is sentenced to death. And on that same day, the sentence is carried out. A firing squad. No appeal. No announcement. The Soviet public never learns any of it. Not in 1942. Not in 1950. Not for decades after. The man who once stood on the execution place, waiting for a car he believed belonged to Stalin, simply disappears from the record. Was he a lone, unstable soldier who came astonishingly close to changing the war? Or was there a hand behind him the NKVD never found, or never admitted to? The hay cart that crossed at the exact right moment was never fully explained. Neither was the 6 years of silence before his trial. Most famous assassination attempts leave behind a name the world remembers, and a story retold for generations. This one left behind neither. No public trial to follow. No martyr for anyone to argue over at the time. Just a sealed file, a stone platform still standing in Red Square today, and a single afternoon in 1942 that came within 3 rifle shots of changing everything. Somewhere in an archive in Moscow, the rest of that file may still exist. If it does, almost